Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. We back up in this. We back up in here. Everything looks good so far. What's up? What's up? What's up, Joshua? What's up, Peace King? I appreciate that. Been putting in that work though, you know. It's about time. Peace, peace, GG, peace, 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 peace. Just getting set up here. Just give me a little second. Get the angles correct. Alright. So we back on here. So let me guide. Well, actually, let me know if you guys can hear me clearly, as well as the background music. What's up, back from hiatus? Just want to make sure that the levels are good. If anything needs to be turned up or down, you guys let me know. Been doing daily divinations using crystal dice and numerology, powerful insights. There you go. Salute to you. Salute to you. But it's really a superpower. It's just that we don't look at it as that. Being able to perform and extract universal truth from just simple earth tools, you can't put a price on that. Especially when the insights deal with you personally. You know, it's one thing to get worldly insights, you know, dealing with the world events. But when you get personal, archetypal insights, then you know you're making progress. So continue with your divinations. Let me put on a different beat here. Let me just play a song and we'll get into it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, as always. Let me see what we got in here. Yeah, let's play this one. I'll do a little alteration. See what happens. All right. Let's see. One sec. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, we about to get it in. Yeah. Bring it up, turn it up, roll the blunt, grab your weed, then. Stop watching on you haters. We like to do it big. All we do is win. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, we about to get it in. Yeah. Bring it up, turn it up, roll the blunt, grab your weed, then. Stop watching on you haters. We like to do it big. All we do is win. Yeah, it is what it is. What they talking about? I always stay spoken. Yeah. Open channels through my shop, got third. I always open. On the West Coast now, we always gooey. Bitches always choosy. What you talking about? I racing and stuff while I now live my life like a man. Burning on that. When it comes to me and I don't chase anything, including them pussy. Live left to the shit and there should be. There's nothing slick till the kid on oil and I ain't kill a bust on. Telling knees on my back, no. But the nigga that I burn on. Yeah, we bout to get it in. Bring it up, turn it up, roll the blunt, grab your weed, then. Stop watching on you haters. We like to do it big. All we do is win. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, we bout to get it in. Bring it up, turn it up, roll the blunt, grab your weed, then. Stop watching on you haters. We like to do it big. All we do is win. Yeah, it is what it is.
I am immortal, I'm ageless, fly paranormal on spaceships. Can't put this on your wish list. I'm tantric to keep fitness. All hail the Prince Machiavelli. I'm the pharaoh, the monk. colony of SETI. It's a ghost, no, you thought it was buried. I erupt on the Isles of Canary. And Bahala, the Krana Shambhala. I speak in reverse on the holy Kabbalahs. And then I traverse, made a stop at Patala. I race from the earth, ended up in Nevada. The prince, so you know what I meant. I said the fire, you can't circumvent. One in your mouth, but you missing the jits. Taught me in circles, I flatten your disc. But with this structure, I got me a sculpture. Lyrics get hot to produce supernovas. Went to the Kaaba, I guess on the bowl. But then I realized, put the flame to the doja. Cast up the magic that's trapped in your attic. It's automatic, the limit, I'm haddock. Feeling the static, the modern day backers. Roll with the witches, they keeping it savage. Check out the thesis of clever uniqueness. Got masterpieces surrounded by genius. They call them Pan, but I'm Dionysus. I just prefer that you keep it a secret. Back in the day, I would call myself Amethyst. Switch out the flow, now I went with the Emperor. Steady my motion, I'm coasting, I'm flammarish. Drew in the lotus, the woods and the berries.
Yeah, we bout to get it in. Yeah. Bring it up, turn it up, roll the blunt, grab your weed thing. Stop walking on you haters. We bout to do a big. All we do is win. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, we bout to get it in. Bring it up, turn it up, roll the blunt, grab your weed thing. Stop walking on you haters. We bout to do a big. All we do is win. Yeah, it is what it is, yeah, we bout to get it in. Crank it up, turn it up, roll the blunt, grab your weed pin. Stop walking on you haters, we like to do it big. All we do is win, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Crank it up, turn it up, roll the blunt, grab your weed pin. Stop walking on you haters, we like to do it big. All we do is win, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, we in here. Alright, once again. I'll stop that. We don't have to listen to that again. Just doing some alterations with the music. Doing a little DJing. But we'll get into it. How's everybody doing? And I decided not to title this video because I realized I'd be saying a lot of crazy stuff. So you just have to watch the video to know exactly what the title is. We're just going to keep it strictly occult. I'm not even going to put titles in my videos anymore. Just to further put the veil on. So you really have to be tuned in to even know. Anyway, let's see what else we got. Again, I'll just put on the beat so y'all can hear some alterations. And I do this because the power of sound is extraordinary. So I want you guys to listen to the beat and watch how I alter the beat to the point where it creates a whole different feel in real time. So let me start with the default settings and we'll go from there. So as we see, this is how it sounds. Let me just turn it down so you guys can hear me. So this is how this beat sounds without any effects. And we'll put the effects on there so it'll take us to the trance state, then we'll get started with the video. So we just have to make sure that the sounds are appropriate for the environment or space we want to create here. So that's why I try to play beats, not just, anybody's beats, but beats I actually created myself to open up those portals. So all right, here we go. So just pay special attention. And just like that, completely different sound, completely different energy, completely different portal being opened up. But let's try with a different beat, because I think I used this beat yesterday, so I want to try with a different beat. So give you guys something different. Let's see. So I'm going to keep this effect, so I'm going to put a different beat in with this effect. and we'll see what happens. And we'll get started. So let's see what we got. Give me 1 second, let's see. Alright, we'll use this one. So yeah, let me let you guys hear the regular beat, then you will hear the alteration of it, and we'll get started. That's the beat. Now let's alter it. So completely different space, as we see. We can even put it in fast motion. So you guys let me know, do you guys want the beat in fast motion or slow motion? So this is slow motion. Let me put it in fast motion. It's a little faster, well, a lot faster actually. Let's see. Yes, that's a little more feasible. Watch what happens when I add this echo. When I add an echo. So again, the purpose of me doing this is to put your brain in a trance state as we spit the game, the universal truth. All right, let's see. There we go. All right, we'll stick with this for now. Hold on. Oh, you guys want it slow? Okay, I'll put it slow. No problem. No problem. All right. So as we see, completely different energy. And the beat, you know, just a 1 minute loop, I believe, or a 30-second loop. Slow is less distracting. I completely understand, so I agree with you. So we'll keep it slow. Not a problem at all. So yeah, you know, it's more background music. All right, so let's get into it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Just wanted to set the vibe, set the feel. And you guys let me know how much of a difference it makes or not. So you guys just let me know. Basically towards the end. Again, I don't know how many people are going to stick around towards the end. I understand people have lives. But we know when we come together, when we merge energies, we can be on here for hours. All right, so let's get it in. That should be good with the audio. I think the audio is good, so now we're going to focus on the visual. Slow is your tempo. All right, cool. We'll keep it slow. So again, you know, every time we come on, I'll try to, you know, give you guys a little something different in terms of the instrumentals. You know, because they're not too hard to make, but you know, once you add the alterations to it, you know, it makes it a huge difference. As we see, we heard the original track, you know, now it's more like you in an Egyptian cave or something. But anyway, oh yeah, I was supposed to draw. I was supposed to make some interesting drawing for you guys. All right, here we go. There we go. Okay, so I think everything is good. So now you guys have something to look at before we actually start writing. So I want you guys to just give me a word. We're just gonna do something unexpected. I just want to show you guys how, I break down all the things I break down. So just give me any random word. We just use New Age. We just, because I guess most people know what New Age is. So we just use the word New Age, and we'll see what conclusions we come up with. Just using the occult tools that we all have access to. Let's see what conclusions we can come to. The purpose of coming to these conclusions is because we don't need dictionaries, and we don't need, people putting definitions on words when we have the mathematics to come to our own original conclusions. So what we're going to do is, I will read the definition of New Age, and then we'll see if we come to a similar conclusion when we break down the numerology of this word, just as an example, just to show and prove how connected everything is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type in New Age here. So if we type in New Age, I have New Age here on the phone. It says the number 1, Pythagorean wise. So the word New Age breaks down to number 1. So let me actually write this on the screen so you guys can see. So if we start with New Age, the word itself, I'm gonna write a little slower, so I understand I'll be writing a little fast, so the words may not come out like they should. So I'm gonna take my time writing out everything this time. So again, the New Age broke down to the number 1. Now, how did we arrive at this conclusion? Obviously, N is 14, 5, 23, 1, 7, 5. 14 then breaks down to 5. 23 breaks down to 5. So we have 5, 5, 5, 1, 7, 5. We understand 5, 5, 5 gives you 15, which then gives you the 6. Then 175 is 13. 1 plus 7 gives you 8. Then 8 plus 5 gives you that 13, which then breaks down to 4. So essentially we have 6 and 4. And we understand 6 plus 4 gives you 10. And then that 10 is further reduced to a single digit, number 1. Okay? So essentially new is 15. And this is 13. So first and foremost, we understand the number 13 is the number of death or transformation. Okay. What's up, Mary? Back from hiatus. Am I left-handed naturally? Yes. I write with my right hand, but I am naturally left-handed. But no, I know the screen looks like I'm using my left hand, but that's because the screen is reversed. So yeah, everything is reversed. So we understand 13 is death, and 15 is the devil. The devil just represents, if we just want to keep it subtle, just represents Lucifer. So, and again, I want to use New Age because, you know, this is just what most people are familiar with. And if you are into the occult, you subscribe to the New Age in some form or fashion. Some form of fashion. So I think this is universal, but we come to a new conclusion, and that's the purpose. We all know what the New Age is, but let's come to an original conclusion utilizing the mathematics. So the New Age, first and foremost, takes us to death and the devil. So let me erase this part now. Because now we're combined in numerology, well, the English alphabet, then numerology, and now we're taking it to the tarot. So New Age, 1, new, death. Devil. Or it may be reversed. 13, 15. Oh yeah, it is reverse. So let me do it correctly. I'm writing it in reverse. I don't want to confuse anybody. So let's do this properly. New Age breaks down to 1. This is 15. This is 13. This is the devil, or Capricorn, and this is death, or Scorpio. So we have a combination of Capricorn and Scorpio. We also understand that the number 1 correlates to the energy of the sun. So planetary wise, the New Age correlates to the energy of the sun. Now, we have 1 planetary energy and then 2 zodiac signs. So now that becomes the sun in Capricorn as well as the sun in Scorpio. If we study the tarot, that we know that these 2 combinations exist in the tarot. When the sun combines with Capricorn, that takes us to the 3 of disc, or the 3 of coins, depending on what tarot deck you use. And when the sun is in Scorpio, that takes us to the 6 of cups. So now we have the 6 and we have the 3. So let's erase this now. I just want to show you guys how deep the rabbit hole goes. Okay. So we had the sun in Capricorn and we had the sun in Scorpio, which takes us to the 3 of disc. And the 6 of cups. Now we have 2 additional numbers. We have the 3 and we have the 6. The 3 takes us to Bina. Now we're going into the tree of life, and the 6 takes us to Teperif. Bina on the tree of life correlates to Saturn, whereas Teperif correlates to the sun. The disc are the earth element, so the earth element's upside down triangle with a line, and the cups is the water element, which is the upside down triangle without a line. So now we have the water element the earth element, we have Saturn, and we have the sun. So now we just went from English then we use numbers or numerology, so I just put numbers. Then from the numbers, it took us to the tarot. The tarot then takes us to the Kabbalah. Okay, so we are 4 levels deep. And we see just by being these levels, and we already have an abundance of information to pull from. So we just started with this little word called New Age, and now we have an abundance of information to pull from. Now we have 2 tarot cards. Now we have 2 worlds, right? Because we have the earth element, we have the water element. But according to the Kabbalah, the world of water is Bira. The world of earth is Asia. Okay, so you see, we have literally one word and we have all this information. Let's continue. I'm just showing you guys why most people don't get into these sciences, because you literally can go into infinity with any word, any letter. You can literally go into infinity. It all depends on how deep you choose to swim in the waters of the abyss. So once again, New Age. Again, this is without any definitions, without any historical references. Because remember, the average person, if they're trying to learn something, they're going to go to the dictionary, they're going to study it in history. They're going to get all this outside information. The only thing that, the only thing that we are doing different is we are getting inside information. We are going inside of the letters. We are going inside of the meanings, even if we don't have a meaning. So if you ever come across something that you don't know about, you have the ability to go inwardly. And because you have the ability to go inwardly, you do not need the outside. The outside just verifies the inside. So we live in a world where we're just fascinated with outside or objective information, somebody else's definition. We're satisfied with that, instead of coming to our own conclusions and making our own definitions, and it's based in mathematics. See, anybody who make definitions is not based in mathematics. It's just whatever they think it is. That's why definitions, you can go to a different website or a different source and you're going to have a different definition. I can Google search New Age definition and pull up 10 pages, and it's going to have 10 different definitions. So there is no cohesive conclusion as to what anything is. We don't have to strictly deal with New Age. There is really no cohesion with anything, because it's just what people think it is. It's illusion. It's Maya. To go beyond the veil, to go beyond the illusion, we utilize the occult once again. And this is why I'm always speaking about these things, because it opens up portals. Just the act of performing divination, which is what we're doing now. This is a form of divination. It's just many forms of divination applied at once. So again, it all depends on what you find interesting. You may not find the Kabbalah interesting. You may not find numerology interesting. You may only consider astrology. It does not matter what you find interesting. You can use whatever divination system you have access to come to original conclusions. This is how language was created. Again, we are living in a times where the foundation has already been laid. The ancients have already came and laid down the foundation. And because the foundation has already been laid, we've become comfortable with what we think things are and what we think things mean. So because we have become comfortable, we are satisfied with just looking up the definitions of words and being satisfied with whatever conclusion that they arrive at, instead of going through our due diligence and basically going through the same process that the ancestors had to go through in order to arrive at conclusions. To create language, to even create language, you had to go into an internal space. What I mean by that is, no language was created, it was all channeled. Just like I told you guys about the periodic table. As scientific as the periodic table is, nobody invented the periodic table. It was a channel. The originator of the periodic table did not take credit for it. So the same way I was talking yesterday about all this occult information, it's not being claimed by the authors. The authors are claiming that it came from a different source other than themselves. It is the same thing when it comes to language. So the ancients used divination to come to the definitions of what these things mean. So we are not basing it off of anyone's opinion. Everybody can look at the mathematics and come to an agreement. So what we're doing, we are removing the opinion. We are removing the doubt so that we can lay the proper foundation based on mathematics. And the reason I keep utilizing or mentioning mathematics, because as we know, mathematics is a language of the universe. So if mathematics is a language of the universe, we must utilize mathematics as often as we can. It's just that mathematics that we are taught in schools are just not this interesting. It's just numbers and, letters, X, Y's, and Z's. So you literally have to go through formal school to come to original conclusions. Essentially, you have to be a master of numbers or a mathematician, to come to original conclusions, because you know all forms of math. But the average person does not know all forms of math. It takes a very long time to commit all those symbols to memory. So the occult allows us to bring everything together instead of everything being separate. So we are bringing together language with numbers, with stars, with planets, with natural forces of the earth and the universe. So whenever we are relying on mathematics, just like all of the sciences do or the mathematicians do, we always will fall back on math or science. We always fall back on math or science. And again, because math and science have become mainstream, it has been reduced. And what I mean by reduced is we understand that the mathematics that we use, the 0 through the 9, comes from India. So our mathematical symbols come from India. Just like our alphabet is the Latin alphabet. Most people don't speak Latin, but we use the alphabets that come from Latin. So even though we speak English, and again, I'm not speaking for everybody, just those who speak English. If you speak English, you are using a Latin alphabet. If you use mathematics, you are using an Indian mathematical base. It was developed in India, in those surrounding areas. This is why these tools are magical, because all we have to do is look at where they came from and how did those people utilize their numbers or their particular alphabet. So for example, the Latin alphabet was utilized differently than how we use it today. Just like mathematics are utilized different than how we use it today. And as this is essentially what I'm trying to demonstrate here, where the same way we can become proficient at the occult, we can become proficient at the science and the mathematics of the world. However, when you combine the earthly mathematics and the earthly language with the occult, you are able to take it to a cosmic realm. And this is what we call divination. You're taking earthly matters and earthly things to a cosmic realm, to a cosmic world, as I call the trance state or the abyss or the Dolph, this state of gnosis. So you're taking whatever you're contemplating or pondering on into a state of gnosis to arrive at new conclusions. And because you are able to arrive at new conclusions using the same alphabets and numbers that we have always used, you're just utilizing it in the original format. So that's essentially all we're doing. We're just utilizing these tools in the original format. The current format that we utilize it in now is not the original format. Is it useful? Absolutely. It's absolutely useful to be able to count, to add, subtract, divide, and multiply. So on and so forth. Algebra, geometry, statistics, probability, all these things are very useful because we see these things utilized every day, especially when it comes to money. In the stock market, cryptocurrency, and all that, it's all mathematics, it's all probability, it's all statistics. In terms of how they're able to predict whether the market will go up or down, it is all based upon the intricacies or advanced mathematics. So the more advanced you are in mathematics, you are able to actually predict the future. It's the same way they can predict whether stocks go up or down, whether cryptocurrency goes up or down. You have to utilize mathematics if we want to be specific. What is called is technical analysis and fundamental analysis. So in order to predict, you have to utilize technical analysis and fundamental analysis. Fundamental analysis is all the available information that you have. So that includes the news and basically whatever information that is happening in real time that may affect the price of a particular stock or a commodity. So essentially, if a company is going bankrupt, it's going to affect their stocks. So if you have access to that information, if you have any stocks in that particular area, then you will pull your stocks from that because you can see the trend, because that also is where trends come from. So let me write all this stuff down. I know I'm speaking. Trends. To detect trends, that is mathematics. Again, trends, prediction. Also, past analysis. So you not only can you study the past or the future, you can also study the past. This is a big tool with astrology because this is how we verify what energies do. What I mean by that is, if you want to study, let's just say a hurricane happens, you can check for what planetary energies were active at that particular time, and you can search for when those same energies were activated again in a different place in a different time. So for example, again, any catastrophic disaster or whatever, when we study the patterns that were in place and we see, okay, when has these same patterns manifested in history before? And we can go back in history to see when have these patterns manifested before and what was occurring around those times. And this is essentially why history is a great tool. Not because we actually care about all these particular events of history. It's for the technical analysis. It's for the fundamental analysis. History gives us the ability to go back in time and to confirm planetary alignments, what they actually do, so that we can predict what's going on in the future and also understand what's going on right now. So the past is the door to what's going on right now into what will happen in the future, because we can use the past as a medium to see what happens when certain planetary energies combine and merge. So this is why these tools are so powerful when you utilize them together. You can detect all of these universal sequences that allow you to arrive at original conclusions once again. So going back to this new age here, breaking down to the one, or the energy of the sun, We understand the sun rules over the zodiac sign of Leo, and Leo represents the 5th house. The 5th house is all about pleasure. Our pastimes. What do you do in your pastimes? What do you do in your leisure? So I guess that's another way. The 5th house can represent pleasure or leisure. So because the 5th house represents pleasure or leisure, and New Age breaks down to 1, we understand why the New Age is based around so much sexual currency. So if we actually analyze the New Age, which pretty much started to pop off in the 1970s, what was going on in the 70s? The free love movement. Or something of that nature. Essentially, people went out and activated their Kundalini. They were no longer interested in traditional patterns or waves of activating their currency. So once the 70s hit, what else happened in the 70s? Oh, that's right, hip hop. What else happened in the 70s? Oh, that's right. The Thoth Tarot was released to the public. So the Book of Thoth, the Book of Thoth, or Crowley's deck, it was created in the 1940s, but it was not released to the public till the 1970s. Also, if we look at what was going on with movies and what was just the atmosphere of the 70s, remember the 70s, you can actually smoke anywhere. So essentially it was smoke everywhere. You can go in hospitals and any public place and it was tobacco in the air. So it was smoke everywhere. So this is before, they knew that tobacco caused cancer. Or they were just making their money. They always knew they were just making their money, however you want to put it. Also, what was going on in the 70s, the black exploitation movies. So it was a bunch of movies on crime, as we call Black Hollywood. So Hollywood was at a very low place in the 70s. And what actually resurrected Hollywood was the black exploitation movies, which was all based in hood crime. I'll just put hood crime in here. So it was hood crime that resurrected Hollywood. And again, all this is happening in the 70s. What's so special about the 70s? The 7 takes us to Neptune. And we understand Neptune is the energy of chaos or the abyss. As Neptune represents the moon card in the tarot. And the moon represents the land of the dead. That's why you see Anubis on the moon card. It is the land of the dead. Just write it down here. Land of the dead. Let me erase all this stuff. So Neptune, the abyss, or land of the dead. We understand Neptune, again, correlates to the number 7, the moon card in the tarot. Actually, that is not correct. That is not correct. It is not the moon card. It is actually the Hanged Man. So let me make that correction. The moon card correlates to Pisces. So let me not confuse anyone. So number 7 resonates with the Hanged Man. which is the energy of the martyr. It is a man on a reverse cross. He also put himself on the cross, so it is self-inflicted. Peace, peace, Natasha. So the number 7 correlates to the hanged man, which is a man on a reverse cross. So he is inverted. We just call it inverse or inverted cross. And he did it himself. So it's not a punishment. It is self-inflicted or self-made. To what? For what purpose? To arrive at that trance state or state of gnosis. So let's go back to the original conclusion here. With New Age, 5th house, the house of pleasure. So New Age, once again, breaks down to 1. Sun, Leo, 5th house. Leisure, pleasure. Essentially the house of creativity and self-expression. Creativity and self-expression, if we want to be more universal about it. This is also why it's the house of fun and children. All right. So as I was saying, New Age got started in the 70s. It was all about free love. You had tobacco smoke everywhere. And we understand, if we look at the spiritual purposes of tobacco, it was to communicate with spirits. So all the witches know tobacco smoke opens up portals to spirits. So we had spiritual portals opened up because of the smoke everywhere. So you can say portals was opened up. Portals was opened up because of the smoke. Portals was opened up because of the sex that was occurring. Because of the movies that was occurring. So it was people were being programmed in their subconscious by the movies. The Neptunian movies that was occurring at the time. Of course, we had advancements in astrology. So the advancements of astrology, like harmonics, perfections, there were new additions to astrology that came about in the 70s, and they called it, the New Age astrology, right? So astrology had an advancement in the 70s as well. And as I said, the Thoth Tarot deck was released to the public. Thoth Tarot released to the public. And then hip hop was boiling in the streets. The first record didn't come out to 79, so the first hip hop records, so we had about 10 years of hip hop just strictly being in the streets. Right, so the only people that knew about it was you had to be involved in the street life or the streets, or just around that atmosphere. So once again, you see how we're taking one word, New Age, and we're opening up all of this information here without definitions. I never once defined what New Age was. I'm just utilizing the numerology and all of these other tools. And yes, I'm not just pulling this stuff out. I actually studied the 70s because it is the New Age. It was, again, I'm studying Aleister Crowley and the Thoth deck and all that. So I'm like, okay, it was released in the 70s. So, this is just a part of the studies. I'm just letting you guys know that whatever information that you have, this is just a particular information I have gathered. Of course, your information may be different. But whatever information you have, you can come to original conclusions. So this is just a result of the information that I know. Again, you will know different information, but you will come to similar conclusions, even if you have different information, because of the numerology. And that's what I'm saying. You can have a whole different list of things here, but the numerology and the astrology is the same. So as long as we are sticking to these components, even if all these things are different, it's still going to revolve around that sun, that Leo in that 5th house, or that number 1. We also understand the energy of the number 1 is the energy of innovation. So whenever you are present in a 1 frequency, you are dealing with innovation. Again, this is the energy of the sun. You're dealing with new life. You're dealing with resurrection. The sun resurrects. The sun gives new life. So all of the components dealing with the sun are coming from the number 1. Let's take it a step further. Let's just say we wanted to better understand the nature of the sun. Because if we type the word sun, if we write the word sun, it breaks down to the number 9. S19. 21, 14. This breaks down to a 1. This breaks down to a 3. This breaks down to a 5. 1 plus 3 plus 5 gives you that 9, which is the energy of Mars. And Mars is all about your energy, because Mars rules over the 1st house, and sometimes the 8th house, as Mars is the original ruler of Scorpio. So the 8th house is Scorpio, whereas the 1st house is Aries. And this is why Mars represents energy, excuse me, as Aries is a cardinal fire sign. Cardinal just means energy pouring in one direction. So basically, energy moving in one direction. If we deal with what the fire element means itself, because now we're going into the elements of the earth. And in a tarot, to represent fire, we have a whole suit, the suit of wands. And fire, again, is an upward triangle. Upward triangle deals with electricity. So a cardinal electricity, so it's like a circuit, electrical circuit. Electrical circuit. And that electrical serpent, I said serpent, fuck it, I'm gonna put serpent down here. You see what my mind is thinking about, the electrical serpent. And this energy is expressed through the horns of Aries. So those horns is where that electrical currency is manifested. So the horned one. So that's why Aries is a cardinal fire. They are the horned one. It creates a electrical circuit or an electrical serpent expressed through the horns. So the horns is like rise or raised kundalini. So when you raise your kundalini upward towards the spine, it comes out through the invisible horns. We all have horns, you just can't see them. So we all have spiritual horns. So that's what Aries represents. It represents your spiritual horns. where you're able to direct that electrical current. Peace, Rashad. Right? So, to better understand the sun, we have to understand Mars, as we see here. Mars being the ruler of the 1st and the 8th house. Alright, so let's move this. So if we look at the 1st house, the 1st house is a house of self, or your archetypal image. Or your starlight. Eighth house is the house of sexuality. This is where we explore our sexuality or our dark light, because it happens behind closed doors. It's not really going on in the public. That's more so for the Aries energy. So this is essentially what you would show to the public. The public sees the starlight, while your secret partner or partners see your dark light. So what does this have to do with the sun? We understand the sun has sun rays. Sun rays. Some of those rays are light, and some of those rays are dark. So the sun rays we actually see in the daytime, those represent the light waves, but it's also dark waves. So the dark waves activate the 8th house, the light waves activate the 1st house. So again, you see, all we're using is numerology, astrology, and all these occult tools to arrive at original conclusions that nobody else could have told us. Because we're doing this all in real time. And again, based on the information you know, you're able to come to original conclusions. So the sun represents light rays and dark rays. The light rays hit the 1st house, the dark rays hit the 8th house, because the sun correlates with Mars. So although the sun rules over the 5th house, it actually subtly influences the 1st and the 8th house due to its Mars connection. Now I guarantee nobody else is going to tell you that, because how could they, unless you actually go through this process? So a lot of conclusions, they're obvious, but you have to go through the process to better understand. So, and all this, as we see, is just coming from one phrase: New Age. So all this stuff this is all from one phrase: no beginning, no ending. That's why that's a universal law. No beginning, no ending. Now, we can even take it a step further, because this is not the only thing we can do here, because we can take it to the Kabbalah. And that takes us to the path of the sun, which is the 30th path. The sun, or the number 1, correlates to the Hebrew letter Resh, which is symbolized as a face or head. So the 30th path is a path of Resh, symbolized as a face or a head. Okay? But it goes even deeper than this. It goes even deeper than that. Why? because Resh is symbolized as 200. Every Hebrew letter is connected to a number, and the particular number Resh is connected with is 200. What is 200? The 2 is the moon, and we have the moon times Pluto. Number 0 is Pluto times 2 to the second power. So we put Pluto to the second power. Moon plus Pluto to the second power. The moon not only represents our subconscious, but the moon also represents the public. Pluto represents, you can say, infamy. Right? The underground lords, gods, and goddesses. So if we combine Moon and Pluto, public infamy. Essentially why, people always say that they're hated on. That's what that is. Haters and people that's being hated on. And why people just stay talking about these things. So to be hated or to have haters, for example, this all comes from Resh, the face or the head, concluding with the number 200, which takes us to the moon, Pluto to the second power. Right? Again, this is still dealing with the New Age. Now we done took it to the Hebrew alphabet. Now we done took it to gematria, taking it to the 200. So now we just added the Hebrew alphabet and gematria on top of Kabbalah, on top of astrology, on top of numerology, on top of tarot. One phrase is taking us through all of these realms, all of these universes. And this is essentially what the New Age represents. So if the New Age represents public infamy, that's actually why, the mainstream does not accept the New Age. Anything New Age, the mainstream does not accept. So whether it's astrology, numerology, all this stuff that I'm talking about is not accepted by the mainstream or the public. We can just say the public, right? So the public is not really aware of any of these things, and they actually try to stay away from it because, again, they may be under the ideology that if you're messing with astrology and numerology, you're dealing with the devil. There's still people in the world that think like that this is from the devil. And that's why we have the energy of infamy there, because we know Pluto is Hades. So the fact that the New Age is not accepted by the public, it actually comes from the underground or the ancient gods and goddesses, but it creates public infamy. You see that it's no coincidence that occurs. And that essentially you actually put an aura of infamy around you when you deal with the New Age. When you deal with the New Age, you essentially are creating public infamy. Because again, most people are not going to resonate. Now, yes, there's a lot of people that do resonate, but there's a lot of people that don't. So those who you actually correlate and fuse with is based on those who are already in Hades, or as we call hell, the hell lords, right? So essentially, to accept the New Age, you are an ancient spirit. You are a more demonic spirit, not demonic as evil or, well, yes, negative, because negative is just feminine. Because we see a lot of women and a lot of feminine energy revolves around the New Age, even though it breaks down to one. So even though it breaks down to one, it is still dealing with the public. It is still dealing with the moon. It is still dealing with Pluto. It is still dealing with Resh. All right. Okay, so let's take that off. Alrighty. So going back to New Age. All right. So we are still dealing with this New Age here. All right, give me 1 second here. I will be right back. I think I hear the cat, so give me 1 second. 1 second, guys. I will be right back. 1 second. I'll get the music on though. All right, we back in here. Okay. I appreciate that, Mary. Okay. So I think you guys see what I'm doing here. Let me make sure everything is good. Hold on. Let's see, it's good. Okay. So as we have seen, I've used, so let me just write everything down. So all the tools I used, it started with English, went to astrology, numerology. Oh, I'm spelling that wrong, hold on. Tarot, Kabbalah. All right. So 5 levels deep. And that's just the introduction, because there are more layers that can be applied as well. Oh, I didn't even add the Hebrew. Hold on. Alright, it's cool. And gematria. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 layers deep. And again, we know that the 7 is Neptune, which is the energy of the abyss. So to even enter the abyss, we have to be 7 layers deep. So this just gets you to the abyss, where you can arrive at original conclusions. But obviously this is not the end all be all. However, if you have these 7 layers on lock, you really won't need anything else. This will be the foundation. Now, whatever you add on top of that foundation is your personal choice. But this should be the foundation for everyone who participates in the new age. So actually, I should probably put Latin. I've not put English, but the Latin alphabet. I'll just put Latin alpha to be more exact. Then numerology, the Hindu numbers. All right. So these 7 layers are the introduction to take us to the abyss. Once we arrive into the abyss, again, you know, what we do after that is personal choice. But if we correlate with these 7 layers, This is what will allow everyone else in the new age to understand what we're dealing with. As long as we stick to this foundation, psychology could be applied like mental health. Absolutely, it can be applied, especially if you study Carl Jung, because he implemented astrology into his psychoanalysis. So yes, psychology, because astrology in and of itself is a psychological tool. And let me show and prove that. So definitely psychology can be integrated because it is psychology. And again, this is coming from Carl Jung. Astrology, that's a direct quote. Astrology has all the components of psychology. So if astrology has all the components of psychology, then how exactly is that? Well, let's see exactly how that is. Because if we look at astrology, we have planets, zodiac, houses, and aspects. And this is what the mainstream knows. So these are the four corners of astrology, as they are called, the four corners of astrology. So if you got these four corners established, you essentially know what you're doing. Now, of course, there are plus lessons to astrology that go beyond this. But this is the foundation. Of course, you can go into profections. You can go into harmonics. Right? Actually, I can put even more here, because it definitely does not stop there. So yeah, if we want to get really crazy with it, we can take it even further than this. Because then you have the Vedic Principles, right? Vedic astrology. You have Draconic astrology. Vedic, Draconic, you have midpoints. Alright? You have solar and lunar returns. Solar, lunar returns. You have progressions. Alright? It goes even further than that. Alright? Let me erase this. Alright? So, we also have the medieval astrology and the classical astrology, so on and so forth. We'll keep it there, just to keep it simple. So, with that conclusion, we see that astrology has 22 points. What do I mean? You have 10 planets, 12 zodiacs. (10 plus 12 gives you 22, which is the same number of Hebrew letters. So every planet in or zodiac sign correlates to a Hebrew letter. Then when we add the 10 forces of nature from the Kabbalah or the Tree of Life, the 10 forces of nature, or actually 11 if we include Doth. So basically the Sephra, right? So if we include the 10 Sephra plus 1 of Doth, the 10 Sephra plus Doth, that gives us 11. If we add that 11 to the 22, it gives us the 33. And we know that is the Christ consciousness. Or the master teacher, as 33 represents the master teacher. So for anybody to become wise, you have to master the 33 stages of wisdom, which includes astrology, but it also includes the Kabbalah, or the 10 Sephra plus Doth, with the 22 letters or the 22 paths. So not only do you have 22 letters, you have 22 paths on the tree of life. So the tree of life has 22 paths. So 22 Hebrew letters, 22 paths on the tree, 11 forces of nature, 10 planets, 12 zodiac. You put all this together, you have an entire system of psychology. So you can actually navigate people to their Christ consciousness if you understand how the dynamics work. And we ain't even gonna deal with people, we first yourself. Before we even deal with anyone else, you can guide yourself to your own Christ consciousness. Because this is a complete system, not just a system, but a complete system of psychology. Once you include every dimension, or at least the 7 components as we spoke about earlier. And I didn't even break down astrology in terms of the number that it is associated with. So, if we look at astrology, we break it down. I'm just going to do it quickly. So astrology breaks down to 6. So take that eraser off. Astrology takes you to 6. 6, Venus. And we know Venus, another word for Lucifer, which is the morning star, which is why people say astrology is connected with the devil, because it is connected with the star of Venus. So that's where that comes from. You see, just simply utilizing numerology, we can actually see why people feel that astrology comes from the devil, just simply because it's connected to Venus. So if anything, you can say Lucifer is more feminine than masculine. So it's more like a feminine devil, because again, Venus is feminine. Venus in the tarot is the Empress. Which is the third trump, or major. The Empress is connected with the Hebrew letter Daleth, which is symbolized as a door. So the Empress is the door. The door between what? Well, if we look at the path of the Empress is the 14th path in the tree of life, the 14th path. The 14th path connects Bina and Chokma, or in other words, Saturn and Neptune. We understand Neptune, Saturn. Saturn, or Satan, and Neptune is the chaos. Astrology then represents the chaos of Satan. And again, Satan is the lord of this world. All right. So again, Saturn plus Neptune. Saturn is a universe card. And again, the Hangman, which is Neptune. So we have a combination of the Hangman and the universe. So what is the Hangman trying to do? Trying to access his cosmic intelligence. So this combination represents cosmic intelligence. Cosmic intelligence, again, cosmic just represents chaos to the average person. Anything cosmic is chaos to the average person. That's why when we study space, we see madness. We don't know what's going on. We're trying to observe and figure it out, but it looks chaotic. However, it is cosmic intelligence because it is ordered chaos. Ordered chaos. So it's not chaos for the sake of chaos. It is ordered chaos. And again, that's why the Hangman, he is suffering willingly. So he is not being punished. So the Hangman doesn't represent a punished man. It represents someone who is willingly tapping into the cosmic intelligence. So willful cosmic journey. And again, the cosmic journey is just a journey of death. Or to transcend death. Death transcendence. So let me put that. Death transcendence. So that's why, once again, Neptune represents the land of the dead. So if Neptune represents the land of the dead, where we find Anubis, and then we have Saturn, which represents the black sun, the land of the dead is empowered by the black sun. Because the land of the dead is charged by dark rays, as we explained earlier. Dark rays. Those dark rays activate the land of the dead. Alchemy. Okay. So if we did alchemy, the word alchemy, I believe it breaks down to 9, but let me verify. No, it actually breaks down to 4. Okay. So it may have been 9 Chaldean wise, but it breaks down to 4. 4 Uranus. Uranus also represents the Fool card in the tarot. The Fool. 4, as we know, also represents Rahu, the demon that became immortal, the immortal demon. So if Rahu is a number 4 and Rahu is an immortal demon, and the purposes of alchemy is to what? Every time we hear about alchemy, it is associated with the Philosopher's Stone, turning lead to gold. Basically what they're talking about is transcending death, to become immortal. So an alchemist, essentially, the goal of an alchemist is to become immortal. So they use the elixir of life, and the Philosopher's Stone to achieve that goal. Philosopher's Stone. Four also represents the four corners, which represents the foundation. So whenever we see the four, we're dealing with the foundation of something. So alchemy is the foundation of immortality. The foundation of immortality, meaning you have to be an alchemist. It is only through alchemy that we are able to forge the elixir of life and wield the Philosopher's Stone. Obviously, the Philosopher's Stone is not an actual stone. You can say it represents the third eye. But can you wield the third eye? Can you handle the dynamics of the third eye? Because it's not all positive. So, anyone who's saying you just need to open up your third eye, open up your third eye, open up your third eye, it's not all positive. You will see some darkness and light. You will see both sides. And that's why it is called the Philosopher's Stone, because the philosopher is only concerned with the nature of how things work. So you can say angelic and demonic workings. Angelic/demonic dynamics. As the third eye is correlated with the moon, which is the energy of the high priestess, or the 13th path. See how it all comes together? So if the third eye correlates to the moon, and we already broke down that the moon is the 13th path, third eye, moon, which is the 13th path of death. I was going to put death, but the 13th path, yes, 13 is death. The 13th path is the path of the high priestess, who stands between Teberif and Kether. Passing through what we call Thoth. So the guardian of Thoth is the high priestess, or the energy of the moon. So to access Thoth, you have to do so through the moon, or the lunar light, or waves, lunar waves. So the third eye just makes you aware or sensitive to pick up on lunar waves, because it is the path of the high priestess. And the high priestess just represents the goddess of death. Which that there are many goddesses of death, but death just represents time, because the high priestess is a timekeeper. That's why death goddess is Kali, and Kali is known as the timekeeper, or to destroy time, the time destroyer. So Kali is the time destroyer. So to access your third eye, essentially you are destroying time. So if the third eye destroys time, that means it takes you out of the illusion, because the illusion is based upon time. Time creates illusion. Time creates illusion, aka Maya. So Maya is based in time. So if you are able to destroy time, you are able to destroy the illusion. So if you are able to destroy the illusion, this again is the purpose of alchemy, to destroy the illusion, to control time. To control time, you must stop it. Because in a timeless space, that's where the magic happens. Timeless space is where magic happens. So our most magical space is when that third eye is activated. When we call upon the Kali, or the goddess of death, to destroy time. And this is why most people are afraid of these types of gods and goddesses of the underworld or death, because they destroy time. And the average person is completely, their whole life is based around the clock or Saturn. So if your whole life is based around the clock, if suddenly there's no clock, you don't know what to do, because your whole reality is based around the clock. So the average person does not want to dissolve or destroy time, because as they say, time is money. So if you destroy time, you are essentially destroying their money. And you know, most people is not trying to have their money destroyed. So essentially they depend on time. So they depend on time to operate properly, or the illusion of time to operate properly, in order to generate the currency or the money. Not the currency, but the money, because we spoke about the difference between money and currency yesterday. But it revolves around the clock. The clock of Saturn, again, who is the timekeeper. And all time creates Maya. Time is just motion and distance. Time equals motion and distance. Motion and distance. So because our time is based upon the planets, it is the motion and distance of the planets that create time. Time is created by the planets, but the clock is created by Saturn. So time is created by planetary motion, but the clock that we live upon is created by Saturn. So if the clock is created by Saturn, this is why Satan is the lord of this world. This world is just time. The lord of the world. The lord of the world is he who controls the time, or she who controls the time. So that means Satan controls time. So if Satan controls time, we understand where the fear comes from. People fear the Satan or the devil as the adversary, because I may be spelling that wrong. I don't know. So let me do it this way. So people fear Satan and devil just like people fear God, but God doesn't create time. So we'll get to that shortly. But the reason why people fear Satan and devil is because they control time. And if you control time, you control money. Time control equals money. Time control equals money. And what controls the time? The clock. The clock is how we all agree. See, time is personal or subjective. See, this is why I take some time to explain these things. Because we be conflating all these things as one idea when we have to separate it to fully understand what's going on. time, numerology-wise, breaks down to 11, or 2, which what is the energy, once again, of the moon. So the word time itself takes you right back to the number 2, which we just came from. Speaking about the lunar waves in the third eye. So the word time itself breaks down to 2. So what does clock break down to? So we have the third letter, the 12th letter, 15th letter, the third letter, and the 11th letter. So essentially we have 3, 1 plus 2 gives you the 3. So we got 3, 3, 15, 6, that gives you the 6, 3 and 11, and that gives you 5. So 6 plus 5 is 11, then 11 plus 6, which gives you 17, which takes you what? To the 8, right back to Saturn. No coincidence there. No coincidence there. It's just us doing the due diligence, to arrive at these conclusions and not be controlled by other people's words and what they think. So again, clock is 8, time is 2. Time is controlled by the moon. The clock is controlled by Saturn, aka Satan, Lord of the world. So the Lord of the world controls the clock. But the moon, again, represents the subconscious. So that means it is subjective. So time is subjective, but the clock is objective. So time is subjective. The clock is objective. Clock is objective. So to verify the time, we look at the clock. But time is controlled by the subconscious, meaning it's how you feel. That's why when you feel happy or positive, time speeds up. And when you feel the opposite, time slows down. Just so that way, essentially, when you're trying to get the day over with, time drags its ass. But when you having the time of your life, time just essentially just flies by. So how does time fly? And yes, death is 11. Yes, that is correct. 11/2, that is absolutely correct. That's why death deals with time. Like we all have a time limit here on the earth. Again, but that also tells you, because it deals with the 2 or the 11, that death is subjective. Meaning it's not a universal. Basically, the same thing doesn't happen to everybody. Death is not an objective experience where everybody dies the same or goes to the same place. It is subjective. So what occurs after death is based upon your subjectivity. Not, okay, when a person dies, this is what happened. No, it's mostly subjective. So once again, time has the ability to fly, but time also has the ability to slow down, which is, again, is not based upon the clock. It is based upon time, because time is subjective. But we have all witnessed this personally. We witness time alter, time speed up, and time slow down. Even though the clock doesn't necessarily change. The clock doesn't necessarily change, but time does. Life Path 11/2 made a song, I Put Time on the Clock. Exactly. There is no coincidence. Because we see that these energies are in control. We are just not consciously aware of them. We are aware subconsciously of all these dynamics that I'm going through, but we may not be aware consciously. So the only thing we're doing here is to make ourselves aware of what we are already aware of on a subconscious level, to bring that awareness to you can actually see it in real time. You can actually decode and see these things playing out. And again, we have all witnessed time speed up and slow down, even though the clock appears to be moving at the same pace or the same velocity. So the clock, you don't necessarily see the clock hands speeding up or slowing down, but time has the ability to manipulate itself. So those who truly understand this dynamic has unlocked a secret of life. If you can truly grasp what's really going on, you have unlocked a dimension of life that most people will never understand. And you see, we didn't have to pull out a dictionary. All we're doing is utilizing our original science. Life Path 11 tuned in at the perfect time, as it appears to be the perfect time, but it's really subjective. And that's why, yes, perfect time, not perfect clock. There's a reason why we say what we say. I tuned in at the perfect time, not the perfect clock. Because time is subjective, once again. So you appeared at the proper subjective time. Objectively is just whatever time it chooses to be, because remember, it's objective. So essentially, whatever time it says on the clock, it's whatever time it says. Because a clock displays time, but it doesn't control time. All a clock does is display time. But a clock doesn't control time. A clock displays time, or essentially makes it objectively viewable. Objective viewership. So the clock allows us to have objective viewership, but a clock doesn't control time. Again, we understand time is controlled by the Satan or the Lord of the world, but the clock displays that. So this is why time and clock can be separated. So many dimensions to the magical science, it can be overwhelming at times because you have to put it together. You see, this is because the way we're taught in school, we're taught to separate everything. Everything is separate. You have a math class, science class, this class, that class, everything is separate. You're not learning everything at the same time. So yes, the way that the magical systems work is a reason why they all combine together, because they are all supposed to work together, but we are taught the exact opposite. We're taught things separately. So if we're going by the way we are taught, this doesn't make any sense, because this allows you, or this will help you to bridge the gap, put things together that are not separate at all. So essentially, those 7 dimensions that I just put down here, the 7 dimensions, once again: astrology, numerology, tarot, you can say the Latin alphabet, Kabbalah, Hebrew, Gematria. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So although these things are separate, they exist on their own. You can strictly be into astrology, you can strictly be into numerology, you can strictly be into the tarot, you can strictly be into the Latin alphabet, you can strictly be into the Kabbalah, Hebrew, or Gematria. However, they all fit in together. See, when it comes to school, things fit in together, but we have to do it ourselves. So you're gonna learn, you're gonna learn math separately than English, but we know that we have to put it together at some point. You have to put the math and English together, but you do it on your own. You're not shown how do you combine all of these different things. An English class strictly deals with English. You're not gonna learn math in English class. You're not gonna learn English in math class. But when it comes to the occult, you're gonna learn some numerology as you study astrology. As you study astrology, you're gonna learn some tarot. As you're studying the tarot, you're gonna learn some Hebrew. You're gonna learn some Kabbalah. You're gonna learn some Gematria, because they all connect and synchronize together seamlessly. So we don't have to force these things to be put together. They are already connected. And because they are already connected, once you know the foundation of each system, it becomes very simple, because it's all about what exactly are you trying to discover from whatever it is that you're breaking down. So you just use the appropriate tool for whatever conclusion you're trying to arrive at. Now, of course, the way I did it, I just showed every single way, but you will pick, you will pick which one makes the most sense. For example, if you want a quick answer, your best bet may be tarot, because all you have to do is draw a card and come to a conclusion. Now, if you want technical analysis, you may choose astrology. If you want intimate, intricate detail, you may prefer astrology. Now, if you are not necessarily concerned with the planets or astronomy, because I actually could add astronomy to that, so it'd be 8 points, the 8 points of the sun. We just add astronomy to it, because that takes us to the fixed stars. Astronomy takes us to the fixed stars, which are also relevant, but again, it's like 114 fixed stars or something like that. So obviously the average person doesn't know all these dimensions, so they really don't deal with the fixed stars. They just deal with the planets. But again, that will be an 8th point. Numerology is for those who don't prefer astrology and astronomy. You're not really concerned with what's going on in the cosmos. You're more concerned with what's going on the earth, on the physical plane. So if you're more concerned with what's going on the earth or the physical plane, you're gonna be more drawn to numerology. When it comes to the alphabet, being able to break down the alphabet or any word, this is more so for the linguists. So if you are a linguist, if you enjoy English, and in writing you are a writer, you just like manipulating the English language or the Latin alphabet, then you're going to prefer the Latin alphabet. If you prefer words and letters. So if you prefer letters over numbers, then you're going to utilize the Latin alphabet or any other alphabet. I'm just using the Latin alphabet, but of course this will apply to any alphabet. Now, if you are a mystic, you're going to prefer Kabbalah. If you're trying to discover the forces of nature and cosmic forces, essentially astrology and numerology, because that's what Kabbalah is. Because Kabbalah, you're dealing with numbers, but you're also dealing with planetary energies, which represents forces of nature. So the Kabbalah is essentially a combination of astrology and numerology. So that's for the mystics, for those who like divination, who like to arrive at original conclusions. So you will utilize Kabbalah to arrive at original conclusions, because it's basically a combination of astrology and numerology. Hebrew is more so for states of consciousness, to manipulate your mindset. And that's why I use Hebrew a lot. I use Hebrew when it comes to like my 5 Uranian mystery spells. I use Hebrew a lot because of how powerful it is. And Hebrew is backed by gematria, because every letter is connected to a number. So some people may not be drawn to the Hebrew letters. So they'd be drawn more so to gematria. If you got to learn the 22 Hebrew letters and their attributes. So for someone who doesn't care anything about Hebrew, the Hebrew alphabet, they may prefer gematria. It's just breaking down the letters, the Hebrew letters, and coming to number, which basically then takes you to numerology. So gematria is more so, again, for those who are more interested in mathematics, Hebrew mathematics. So numerology is like Western mathematics, Hebrew is like Eastern mathematics. So the mathematicians will prefer gematria or numerology. Then again, the wordsmiths, the artists, the authors will prefer the Latin alphabet. The mystics will prefer the Kabbalah. And astrology is like a universal science. So you can be any of the following, and astrology is the universal science that will help you to connect all these things together. So astrology is like the central practice, because all this revolves around astrology. So once you know astrology, you essentially know all this. Because once you know astrology, you know all of the numbers. You have 10 planets and you have 10 numbers. So if you know astrology, then you know the components to every number. So knowing astrology, you automatically learn numerology at the same time. And if you know astrology, you already know the tarot, because the tarot is just the 10 planets and 12 zodiac signs and how they combine. The tarot is just planetary combinations. So if you're already aware of the 10 planets and 12 zodiac signs, the tarot just shows you what happens when they combined. When these planets combine with these zodiac signs, this is what happens. So the tarot shows us the planetary combinations. The combinations of the planets and the zodiac signs. What happens when this planet combines with this zodiac sign? It shows us those cosmic dynamics. The alphabet, as we see, helps us to decode definitions. So whenever we want to break down words, because we want to be very wise with our choice of words, when you want to enhance your choice of words, you utilize the alphabet, because you can manipulate the results, because we all use words every day. We have to communicate, we have to speak. So if you choose the words you speak based on the energies that they resonate with, for example, as we just saw with time and clock, if you're trying to activate the 2 energy from time, you would use time more often than you use clock. You would use clock if you're trying to activate the 8 energy. So if you say to a person, what time is it? That will produce a certain response. But if you say, where's the clock? Right? Or do you have a clock? So instead of asking, what time is it? Because in order to look at the time, you got to look at a clock. So if you ask, hey, you got a clock on you? What's the numbers on the clock? So if that's different. What time is it is different than saying, what are the numbers on the clock? You don't even hear people talking like that, really. Oh, what are the numbers on the clock? But people will know what you're talking about. Oh, what's the numbers on the clock? But you see, it produces a different response. Even though you're talking about the same thing, at least we think we're talking about the same thing. Now we know we're not. One is a 2 energy, one is an 8 energy. So it depends on what reaction you're trying to get. This will determine what words you use, because it will produce a different response. So you see, that's why when you ask somebody what time is it, it's more of an automatic response. They instantly take out their phone or they look at their watch and they tell you what time it is. It's subjective. It's like automatic. But if you ask, oh, what's the numbers on the clock? It doesn't happen as quick, because they have to kind of register, oh, what did you just say? Like you said, that kind of weird. So like it's kind of a slower reaction. I'm like, oh, okay, I think he's asking what time, or I think she's asking what time it is. Like, oh, do you have a clock? Let me look at it. See, that's another way. Because if you ask a person, do you have a clock? And then they say yes, they're going to show you the clock. Now you look at the time instead of them telling you the time. That's the main difference. So instead of them telling you the time, because if you ask, what time is it? They're going to tell you what time it is. But if you ask, do you have a clock? And they say yes, show me the clock, and now you can see the time for yourself. So you're not asking them what time it is, you're asking, can I see your clock so I can verify the time myself? So we see, even though we think this is all the same, it is a completely different response. Either you're verifying the time yourself with the use of a clock, or you're asking someone else to verify the time utilizing the clock. So either you're verifying the time or you're getting the time verified for you. And the reason why it produces a different response is because time is a 2 energy and the clock is an 8 energy. So again, depending on how you use your words, it will create a different response. Now, of course, the average person isn't that deep into the language, but you see, you can utilize it if you choose. And you can come to your own conclusions and experiment. Utilize different words. So all the words we tend to use on a daily basis, you know, just having a regular conversation, just switch up your regular conversation and you're going to get a different response. Again, don't ask for the time, ask to see the clock. Can I see your clock? You got a clock? Can I see the clock? Let me see the clock. Versus, what time is it? See, completely different response. All right? So I think, I think you guys are following along to see what I'm talking about here. I know it may be a little complex, but if you keep tuning in, it's going to synchronize. So the best thing I can say is just continue to tune in as I drop these videos, because we're going to be giving all type of examples and original conclusions that you're not going to find anywhere else. And essentially, this is how we create original content. Because again, we don't want to take anything from anyone else, their hard work that someone else put in. Now, we analyze the hard work that has been put in by others, but we also want to know how to arrive at our own conclusions. All right. So unless anyone has any questions, we can check up out of here. I think you guys are getting where I'm coming from. I'm just going to draw a little bit, draw for a couple minutes, then we'll check out. Let me actually change the song. I'll change the song. I'll do a couple art pieces, then we'll check up out. So let's see, give me 1 second. Let me change the tune here. Let's see what we got. That's probably loud as hell. But yes, I'm about to use that one, but we're going to alter it like we did the last time and see what happens. There we go. Now it seems like we're in a cave somewhere. All right, cool. Or let's see if we can find something more subtle that may be a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do this one. All right, there we go. All right. I will watch this again during Capricorn season. Oh man, good luck. Good luck, because I have no idea how much information is going to be available by that time. You may not be able to find this video. I didn't put out 20, 30, 40, 50 different ones. Mad hours long. But that's what I'm just gonna overwhelm you guys with content. That's just really what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the complete opposite of what I've been doing. I'm just gonna overwhelm you guys with content. Why? Because this is endless. There's no beginning and ending to these mathematics. So you see, it's not based on what's going on in the world or what's happening. I don't have to wait till somebody do some madness. Let me actually turn this down. This may be a little loud. Hold on. So as I was saying, we don't have to wait for anything crazy to happen, to give commentary. We can make content whenever. And it's not based on, again, what's going on in the world or the temperature and all that. We're actually helping to figure out what's going on, but going beyond the material plane. All right? But this is what we came here to do. This is how we align with our destiny, whatever our destiny may be. And if we don't know what our destiny is, we have the tools to discover it if we do our due diligence. All right, so we didn't hit the 2-hour mark. I'll check out in about 60 seconds. So I'm gonna draw up a couple more pieces and we'll check out. I organize my studies to correspond with different seasons to keep my information orderly. See, if you're doing that, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to, because you know, it take, 365 days to go through the entire season. But that's why we have planetary days and hours. That's why, let me go to my home screen here, right? So if I go to my home screen, you see that it's the hour of Mars as well as the day of Mars. If you see at the upper right hand corner, I have the planetary hours and the planetary days. So we see right now, I believe, what time is it? It's 6:42. It is the hour of Mars. So for the next 21 minutes, we will be in the hour of Mars. And we are also on the day of Mars. Tuesday is the day of Mars. So instead of waiting for a season, a full 30 days, you can utilize planetary hours or planetary days. So you can say, instead of waiting for Capricorn season, just wait for the day or the hour of Saturn, because that's a small piece of Capricorn season without it having to come in. So just a little conclusion, just a little extra insight if you want to speed up the process. So I understand, yes, it is very wise to study certain subjects at certain times. However, we don't have to wait to the season. We got the planetary days, we have the planetary hours, so we can get it in at some point during any point of the day. Just wait for the Saturn hour or wait for the Saturn day, which is Saturday. So every Saturday you can get it in, or every hour of Saturn. The hour of Saturn happens about 3 times every day. All right, let's see how you create those mandalas with just a pen. Yeah, this is the app I'm using. I have a couple different apps. I also have Procreate, but I'm just using this one because it's I think this is more so just for business. As we see, this is more technical, but I have a bunch of programs here. This is just the one I decided to use. But I am using the Apple Pencil. So if you guys are asking how I'm doing this is with the Apple Pencil. I'm not sure what the results will be if you have a different type of pencil. Like, for example, if you're using the S Pen, if you're on Android and you use the S Pen, you may get different results. But these results is based on the Apple Pencil, not the Apple Pen. I'm saying it wrong. The Apple Pencil, not the Apple Pen. You have the S Pen with Android and Samsung, but you have the Apple Pencil. So I'm using the Apple Pencil. I think you guys can see it there. And the reason I'm specifying that because it creates different effects. Alright. Versus if you had a third-party pen, it's going to produce different effects. And this is also, the iPad. So you may get different results if you're on the Android. So yeah, that's just a setup. So iPad with the Apple Pencil. iPad with the Apple Pencil. And you see, we can just have fun with it. Alright. But as I said, I'm going to check out, but I'm going to overwhelm you guys with content. Most likely, you're probably not going to be able to keep up. I know I'll be putting people to sleep with these hour-long lectures. But just, it is what it is. Somebody got to do it. Somebody got to put in that hard work. So I'm going to continue to put you guys to sleep or to educate you if you can withstand the heat. So I'm going to go out. I guess I might as well play my own track. I'll play my own track, not the one that I played in the beginning. I'll play my own track as we check out. So I'll leave you guys with my own lyrics. And of course there will be more on the way soon. I will be doing more music. Alright. Where you gonna drop the new songs? I most likely will put them on YouTube. But yes, they are currently unreleased. So these are unreleased songs. They are not released yet. But I have to master the tracks. I'm not going to release the tracks till I have them mastered. They are mixed. The tracks are mixed, but they are not mastered because I have to do it myself. So once I have the tracks mastered, then I will release them. So everything you're hearing now is, again, it's like underground. So it's not the final conclusion. All right, so let me put the song on. How much of this did I miss? We 2 hours in. We're 2 hours in. Search Sharingan on Google. I have no idea what that is. Well, let's find out what you're talking about. Sharingan. I see what's going on. I see. So you saying like the art? I see what you're saying. Sharingan. I may be saying it incorrectly, but yeah, I see what you're. Infinite gratitude for the deep knowledge. I appreciate it. Infinite gratitude for you guys for tuning in. It can handle the heat. So I appreciate you guys, because again, this is a collective experience. Again, you guys, again, this is, if we understand currency, it's like a big energy portal. So when we all come together, we are creating a big energy portal. So all I'm doing is translating us. Again, this is a collective. So that's why I want to give you guys insight into my mind, so you guys can see how I break down things, so that you can arrive at your own conclusions as you see how I do it. And I try to keep it simple. I guess it may seem complex or overwhelming, but once you have everything memorized by heart, see, that's the thing, memorize it by heart. Any occult information on bees and ants? Well, of course, we have the ant people. For those who understand the ant people are connected, or the Hopi Indians, who were called the ant people, and their ancestors came from inside the earth, or the subterranean plane. So if you're talking about on that level, but if we're just talking about, animals, not animals, insects. Like insects are if, for example, ants. If ants were just a little bit bigger, they will take over the world, because we know ants. Ants are mostly women. Most of the ants we see are women. And we know ants are completely ruthless. They will come in your house and they will, whatever they want, they're going to take it, and they're going to get reinforcements. You're going to have the whole army of ants. So the organization of the ants is ridiculous. One thing the bees and the ants have in common is their intricacy to build their homes. So whether the underground the ant tunnels, or the bee in the hives, the beehives are like the ant tunnels. It looks like an alien civilization. So if you look up, like the ant homes, and I know they're called something else, but they look like alien civilizations. Same with the bees. Bees can actually change their sex. So if it's not enough women bees, they actually can change their sex, just like fish. So these insects, same thing with the octopus. It's a lot of organisms on this planet that are extraterrestrial, seemingly extraterrestrial. So yes, when it comes to the ants and the bees, I would say work with them. like animal totems. I may not have spoke about animal totems, but yes, the ants and the bees may be your animal totem. So definitely work spiritually. The spirit animals definitely work with the bees and the ants. For those who are into animal totems, you know, in those types of cultures, definitely work with the ants and the bees, you know, to tap into that alien archetypal substance. Shurigan translates to copy wheel eye. Okay, so I'm definitely gonna, you know, do my due diligence on what that is. I just saw a documentary on African tribes that have a spiritual connection to ants and termites. Absolutely. We can communicate to any animal. We can communicate with the animal kingdom. We can definitely communicate with the animal kingdom. So for those who feel drawn to that, it is definitely possible. It can definitely happen. And again, it will be, I can just give my own experiences. Let me see. If we're just talking about animal totems, because it's so many. Let's see. Birds of prey are amazing creatures. Absolutely. The messengers. Every animal serves a purpose. That's why we were able to develop fighting styles as observing animals. So martial arts, we were able to develop complete arts just by observing the animals. Why? Because the animals are connected to the universal force. They can only be who they are, so they embody a living sequence. So all animals represent a living sequence that applies to us personally. When this live ends, how soon can we view replay? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea how long. That's completely up to YouTube. Completely up to YouTube. Uh-oh. Guess the iPad. So I just ready. All right, I'm not gonna type in the password here. I don't know what's going on. I think it's trying to update. I think the iPad is trying to update now because it literally just kicked me off. But again, you know, I'll do that another time. What do foxes represent? I always see them. I had literally follow me. Well, they definitely represent sexual currency. That's for sure. So whenever we're dealing with the fox, we're dealing with not just the energy of sexual currency. We're dealing with hold on, I'm looking at the iPad here. Okay, I guess I ran out of, oh yeah, I see what I'm doing. You know, I'm making all this art. I guess I ran out of storage. So I'll correct all that, you know, once I end the video. So yeah, everything is good. I guess I just ran out of space doing all that art. No problem, because I got art stacked on top of each other, so I'll handle that. But going back to the foxes definitely represent sexual currency, but they also represent moving in silence. So we tap into the energy of the fox whenever we want to master the art of invisibility, essentially. Foxes know how to be invisible. They know how to be sneaky. They know how to get things done by taking alternative routes. So you tap into the fox whenever you're seeking alternative routes where you can't go in the mainstream direction. You have to go through the alternative route. So yeah, I think you should actually be able to play this back instantly, because just the way that I'm live. I know when I live stream through my phone, it takes time to process it. But because I'm doing it directly through the computer, I'm using I think it's RTMP or something like that. I think, yeah, the playback should be available immediately. So you guys let me know though. I think the playback should be available immediately. All right. So yeah, okay, let me play my outro song and we'll get up out of here. We'll check out. Figure out what's going on with the iPad. All right, let's see what we got. All right, here we go. that sounds completely different. So this is with the FX on. So yeah, I guess every time I play this song I should play it differently, so that way it doesn't get redundant. So yeah, I'll play it different, but definitely enjoy it. Let me see what I can do about this iPad. Let me fix this while the song is playing. Alright, let's see.
Autism, black men, yeah. Watching these smart as Christian, I'm spiritual with wild style, yeah. God told me he let me their birth, one ghetto child, yeah. Grace singled me out from the crowd, y'all sure was teaching me came even more clearer. Preachers and pastors lost their religion, I now see flawless like diamonds. Pieces of the puzzle that was missing, I found done. Till it was longer city, Christmas no longer forgiven. No demon, no gin gon' get me. I see the demon in the gins in your eyes, my lady. No longer wanna be rich by any means. One ghetto got all, one ghetto want and really need. Was born on Eden, tribal roots with a corrupted seed. I follow the All-Father Jesus God within me. Slavery's a mind state, and ignorance is bliss. Demons take you back on lies, and that's the real shit. Need to live life free. No cap know that. What you see ain't what it seems. Tell the haters what's up. Hey, stop throwing shades. Step your fucking game up. Hey, we got what you need to live life free. No cap know that. What you see ain't what it seems. Tell them haters what's up. Hey, stop throwing shades. Step your fucking game up. Hey.
Once did I sing, shut out unseen team, magnetic clean, whisper enhancement, holy enchantment, know that the spirits be speaking in Spanglass. I rain dance, got that gypsy dust, I am the Sandman. I pervade in dreams, got those lunar inklings. Drone strike at the silence at night, ledger precise, got that alien sight. Polarian flight, nothing else will suffice. I pull up the eyes, call me Hermes to thrice. Ziggurat, best to get you forgot. Intricate plots, got that eye Cyclops. Get back and watch my feet or whatnot. I play like a boss with controlling the thighs. Over your chi, I saw your head and energy feed. I pick up the page on my soul on the beat. I turns out be right to deceased. Original sin, I corrected to sin. You say good and evil, but really they're twins. Really it's neither, but neither repent. Came as a serpent, the one at the head. Bring me a genie, cause it can get shifty. Pull out the liquor, the spirit and whiskey. You gon' get tipsy while I'ma get busy. Break up the matrix, it's into the city. Swing up and mute, the lion of Judah. I watch her dance, it's ancient as Hula. Don't call her Venus, I'm calling her Shukra. It's not mine, and I'm like a
got what you need to live life free. No cap know that. What you see ain't what it seems. Tell the haters what's up. Hey, stop throwing shades. Step your fucking game up. Hey, we got what you need to live life free. No cap know that. What you see ain't what it seems. Tell them haters what's up. Hey, stop throwing shades. Step your fucking game up. Hey, we got what you need to live life free. No cap know that. What you see ain't what it seems. Tell them haters what's up. Hey, stop throwing shades. Step your fucking game up. Hey.
We out. Peace. 93 in this bitch.